in the last week, German metal and hard rock vocalist, multi-instrumentalist, and music producer Michael Voss has released a new album called Rockers Rollin, a tribute to Rick Parfitt. We've known about this for a little while. It was announced back in April, I think it was. I saw a post from the makers of, and it did intrigue me very much, but I'm not sure quite what I was expecting. And then a clip from the album Rockers Rollin came out, and I was impressed. Then Don't Drive My Car, another clip came out. I was impressed. Then I sat down the other day to write a review for this album, for this podcast, as well as another project that I do. And I was blown away completely and utterly. I have to be honest, I am obsessed with this album. I think it's such a lovely tribute, and here is why. So as I look down the track listing, we've got Again and Again, Rain, Don't Drive My Car, For You, Rockers Rollin, Oh What a Night, Something About You Baby I Like, Reason for Living, Coming and Going, and finally, Living on an Island. So as I look at this track listing, we've got a nice smattering of singles of which Rick played a part on lead vocals, or in the case of Something About You Baby I Like, he's in the middle 8 of that track, and that is great. I mean, you couldn't really have a tribute album without Rain. Don't Drive My Car is a very interesting choice, I think. It's not one that really gets covered a lot. The intro riff is kind of on another end of the Quo spectrum, isn't it? And Again is very autobiographical, I think, and it's a great way to start this album. But the other part of the album is all the album tracks that we've got on here. Reason for Living, Coming and Going. I don't think I've ever seen anybody even attempt Coming and Going. But of course, you know, when you listen to the original of that song, it is Rick, right? It's got that dark edge. And for Rick as songwriter and a performer, that was, I think, the start of his kind of darker side that carries on throughout the 80s with songs like Man Overboard. I mean, but people might disagree with me. This is just my opinion. So this album has a plethora of talent. There's so many people involved in this album, in and out of the Quo community. Of the Quo universe people, as I shall call them, we have Jackie Lynton, Rick Parfitt Jr., Rhino, Bob Young, and John Coghlan. Also worth noting as well that previous and regular guest Greg Harper also plays bass on a couple of the tracks as well. So what Michael has done here is possibly assemble the greatest ensemble of Quo people that is not on... how can I explain this? I had it earlier. He's assembled a group of the most people on a record without the record having the name Status Quo above the door, right? The most Quo-related people. That in itself is very impressive. So in terms of how this album sounds, the arrangements are possibly what you would expect. You know, they sound very close to the originals because they're paying tribute to the artist and what he brought to the table. But there are some deviations from that where the artist has put his stamp on it, such as the kind of band-like outros, the different ways in which they do that. The slight deviation in solos where sometimes they really let rip. And I like that because instead of just copying what Rossi did, the player is putting their own personal stamp on it, which is really cool. Michael's voice suits this material really well. He's got kind of that hard rock, almost arena rock type voice that can really go up there, just like Rick did, I think, in sort of the early to mid 80s. And then he can also, like Rick, do the softer stuff, like For You and Living on an Island. The production has a modern spin on it. The separation between instruments is wonderful. You're listening in speakers, you're listening in headphones, you can hear every instrument as clear as day. And I really like that. It was such a pleasant listening experience. I love the little panning as well on Reason for Living, where you've got his vocals in one ear, the guitar in another, and then bam, straight into it. And the vibe, pretty much hits the nail on the head. I mean, Oh, What a Night has the same kind of what I would call Saturday night vibe of the original. Something About You, Baby, I Like is perhaps the most unusual addition to this, considering that Francis sang lead on it. Also that it was a cover version rather than a song written by Rick or the band. But I mean, again, I'm obsessed with it. I think it's absolutely marvelous. I listened to that one song about 4 times, I think, because the genius of it. They've got Rick Parfitt Jr. singing lead, and then Michael singing the parts sung originally by the person he's paying tribute to. I mean, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing on record because they're both paying tribute to Rick, and it's just a wonderful, lovely feeling. I just love it. It's so fun. It's such a fun thing, and I think it's another part of Rick's personality, and another reason I think why Quo were successful, because they had their hard rock period, they had their moments of kind of softer stuff, and then you've just got we're having a laugh. It's a great, it's great fun. And that's what Something About You, Baby, I Like brings in that interpretation. So Coming and Going features Bob Young on harmonica. And the moment that harmonica came in, I was like, it's Bob Young. I can hear it, like it's the guy who played on the original recording, and you can hear that. It's the same with some of the other tracks that have the Quo performers on it. Who originally performed these songs. Andy Bown on Oh, What a Night, and John Coghlan on Living on an Island. So to go back to the track listing for a moment, I think when you look down it, you might be thinking that there are some tracks missing because Rick sang on a lot of them and they mean different things to different people. And I personally think this track listing shows a bit of everything. You've got For You and Living on an Island. You've got the Rockers from Rockers Rollin, and you've got that Saturday night sound of Oh, What a Night that Rick did at times, where they just went full on into things. The grittiness of Coming and Going. There's a bit of everything, but I can imagine somebody saying, where's All the Reasons? Or Big Fat Mama. Well, if Michael does a volume 2 of this, which I would support, by the way. I think it's a great idea. I really love what he's done with this. And you can read my full review. I'll leave the link in the description below. But yes, if there was another volume or, there's a long list of tracks that could have been as well. Certainly post 82, there's a few that could be in there. So have you heard this album, Rockers Rollin, a tribute to Rick Parfitt by Michael Voss? What did you make of it? Let me know on social media. I give it 10 out of 10 because he's got the vibe. It's a celebration of Rick and all the things that he was good at. The rhythm guitar is in there, nice and loud. Some of the elements have been ramped up. The backing singers, the vocals are just on point. Michael does a great job, an amazing job on this. So well done to him. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you once more for another episode of the Quo-Cast.